The question that kept walking. For many years, I thought I was searching for an answer. I thought that somewhere ahead of me, if I was patient enough, or clever enough, or simply stubborn enough to keep going, there would be a moment where everything resolved, where the question I had been carrying would finally set itself down and let me rest. That is not what happened, slowly without any single moment marking the change. I discovered something different. Maybe the answer was never the first thing I was meant to find. Maybe the question itself was part of the journey, not an obstacle standing between me and it. A question can be heavy in a way that has nothing to do with its length or its complexity. It can follow you into rooms where nobody else knows it's there. It can walk you in the middle of the night, quiet and insistent, asking to be looked at again, even though you looked at it only hours before. It can make ordinary things, a walk, a conversation, a long silence in the car, feel like they are hiding something deeper than they actually are. Because the question has trained you to look for depth anywhere. And for a long time, I carried one question with me, heavier than the others, one that never fully let go. What is tomorrow? Not tomorrow as a date on a calendar, not tomorrow as the next morning, arriving whether I'm ready for it or not, but tomorrow as something waiting beyond what I already know. Something I could feel the shape of, the way you feel a room in the dark before your eyes adjust, but could not fully explain, not to anyone else. And for a long time, not even to myself, I walked through many places inside myself trying to answer it. Some roads were clear, and I moved through them quickly, certain for a while that I understood something true. Some roads disappeared entirely, the way a path through tall grass disappears if you stop walking it. There one day goes and gone the next, as if the question itself had changed its mind about where it wanted to lead me. Some moments felt like real progress, like the ground beneath me was finally cooperating. Other moments felt like standing still, like years could pass and I would be no closer to anything. But I've come to understand that even in those still moments, something was changing, quietly beneath the surface, the way a seed changes before it ever breaks through the soil. Because the person who asks a question today is not always the same person who receives the answer tomorrow. The journey changes the one who is searching. I am not the man who first asked this question. I don't think I could even fully explain to him what I understand now. Not because he was less capable, but because he hadn't walked far enough yet to hold it. Along the way, I learned that every person carries invisible stones, not stones made from earth, not something you could pick up and weigh in your hand, but stones made from memories, from choices, some made carefully and some made in a rush you regret later. From pain that doesn't announce itself as a lesson right away, and sometimes never does. From moments that shaped who we became, whether we notice them shaping us or not. Some of these stones are heavy for a long time, because we refuse to understand them. We carry them out of stubbornness, or fear, or simply because setting them down feels like admitting something we're not ready to admit. And some become lighter, almost without warning. The moment we finally accept what they were trying to teach us all along. I've carried stones like that. I felt the exact moment one of them became lighter. And I couldn't always tell you why that moment came when it did and not a year later, earlier, or a year later. Sometimes after carrying something for a long time, we discovered that the stone was never there to stop us. It was there to show us where we were standing. I remember looking ahead early in this search and seeing an actual stone in the distance, fixed, unmoving, waiting on the road the way certain things simply wait, without needing to explain themselves. It was not the final destination, it was a marker, a place on the road where something could be understood and then left behind. The way you leave a room after finally finding what you came in looking for. For a moment, before I reached it, I let myself believe that arriving there would reveal everything, that the stone would become some kind of door, and beyond it, the whole shape of tomorrow would finally be visible. But when I arrived, I discovered something more important than the answer I thought I was chasing. The stone was never the end. It was only the next step. Because every answer opens another door, and every discovery creates another question. And I don't think that's a flaw in the design of this search. I think that might be the design itself. There was a moment, somewhere past the stone, when I understood something that reorganized how I thought about the whole search. The purpose of the journey was not only to reach tomorrow. The purpose was becoming the person who could recognize tomorrow when it finally appeared. Because sometimes something can be standing right in front of us, close enough to touch, and we still don't see it. Not because it's hidden, not because someone is keeping it from us, but because we are still changing, still becoming the version of ourselves capable of recognizing it. I think about that often now. I wonder how many times I might have already walked past something important, simply because I wasn't yet the person who could see it for what it was. I carry a staff with me on this road. It isn't a staff that gives power over others, and it isn't a staff that makes one person greater than another. I want to be clear about that, because it would be easy to mistake it for something it isn't. It's a staff that represents guidance, nothing more grand than that. A reminder that every step on this road belongs to the person walking it, and to no one else. The tool is only as good as the hands that carry it. And the journey is only meaningful when the person walking it understands even a little. When they walk, I don't fully understand my own staff. If I'm honest, I don't know everything it represents, or everything it will come to mean by the time this road ends. I've made peace with that. Some things reveal themselves slowly, on their own schedule, and forcing the pace has never once worked for me. I do not know every detail of what lies ahead, and I don't know what tomorrow will look like when I finally reach it. What will be asked of me when I do? Maybe that not knowing is part of its meaning. If everything about this journey was already known to me, there would be no journey at all. There would only be a destination sitting there, waiting to be collected. And I don't think that's what this is. Life and this search, along with it, is not only about arriving. It's about what happens while we're moving, the thoughts we discover along the way, sometimes without meaning to. The people we meet who understand the piece of it, even if they never heard the word tomorrow used the same way I use it. The lessons we collect, one at a time, often too small to notice, until they've added up into something larger. The moments where we suddenly understand something that words could not explain to us before. No matter how many times we tried to explain it ourselves, for a long time I wanted to prove that this journey was real. To myself first, and maybe to anyone who might one day watch it unfold. But I learned something else along the way. Something quieter and more important. A journey that does not become real because everyone believes it. A journey becomes real because it changes the person who walks it. By that measure, this road has been real for the very first step, from the very first step. The questions I asked were real. The search was real. The long nights turning one idea over and over, trying to see it from an angle I hadn't tried yet. That was real. The reflections, the setbacks, the stretches, where nothing seemed to move, all of it real. Whether or not anyone else was watching. whether or not anyone else ever understood why I kept going. And this series is my way of sharing that road. Not because I finished it, but because I haven't. And I think there's something worth offering in that honesty. Maybe someone watching this video is also carrying a question of their own. Maybe someone is standing in their own room right now, looking at their own stone, somewhere in the distance, unsure whether it's worth the walk to reach it. Maybe they don't know where their road leads, or whether it leads anywhere at all. Maybe they're waiting for a sign before they'll allow themselves to begin. I understand that waiting. I lived inside it for longer than I'd like to admit. But perhaps the first step isn't finding the whole road laid out ahead of you. Perhaps the first step is simply accepting that you are already walking, that the question itself, the one that wakes you at night and won't quite let you go, is proof enough that the journey has already started. Whether you've given yourself permission to call it that or not. Tomorrow is not something I can force. It's not something I can take by strength, or by cleverness, or by sheer refusal to stop pushing. It is something I must approach with patience, with humility, with the kind of awareness that can't be rushed into being, no matter how badly I want it. Because some doors cannot be opened by strength. Some doors open only when the person standing before them has changed enough to be let through. And I don't fully understand the mechanism of that, and I've stopped needing to. I only know it's true because I felt certain doors along this road stay closed no matter how hard I pushed, and then open on their own, quietly, once I had become someone slightly different than I was the last time I stood in front of them. I am still walking. The storm behind me is not forgotten. I don't think I could forget it if I tried, and I don't want to. The road ahead is not fully visible, and I've stopped expecting it to be. But something has changed in how I hold all of this. The question that once felt like a burden, something heavy I dragged behind me through the years, I sometimes wish I had moved faster, has become something closer to a companion. It walks beside me now instead of behind me. It teaches me things I wasn't ready to learn when I first started asking it. It reminds me on the hardest stretches of this road that searching is also a form of finding, that the two were never as separate as I once believed them to be. And maybe tomorrow was never only waiting at the end of the road, distant and untouchable until the very last step. Maybe tomorrow was walking with me alone, all alone, closer than I ever gave it credit for being. I just had to become quiet enough and patient enough and willing enough to finally notice. This is my journey. This is my search. This is the Tomorrow series.